Welcome back to the 2 Minute Warning, episode 176. Today we're back on the topic of baseball, my favorite one to talk about. The New York Mets have signed James McCann. He just played for the White Sox, obviously. 4 years, $40 million. Now, what does this mean for the Mets? Well, I think it's a huge step in the right direction. I mean, the Mets haven't been relevant in the NL for several years. They just lost Robinson Cano because of PED, whatever he did. The Mets need something to get them in the right direction. I think this sign is it. They were also looking at, there was rumors, whatever, it was potentially, they were going to sign JT Realmuto from the Phillies. Now, that would have been, obviously, he's the better catcher. I think Realmuto is a top 5 catcher in the league, but I also think McCann is arguably a top 10 and far cheaper. So by signing McCann, I think the Mets leave a lot of cap space open, which they can do other things with, which brings me to my next point of George Springer. The Mets are looking like a very likely landing place for George Springer. So signing McCann brought, like I said, potentially, I think, a top 10 catcher, in my opinion, in the league, brought him to New York, and they leave enough cap space to sign Springer and potentially Trevor Bauer. And I mean, when you think about adding Springer into the outfield with Conforto, those two great outfielders there. You think about adding Trevor Bauer to a pitching staff that has Marcus Stroman, Thor, in Syndergaard, Jacob deGrom. I mean, the Mets have potential to be really good if their offseason moves work out, and the first step in that was signing James McCann, in my opinion. James McCann, 2019, was an all-star. He had 18 home runs that year, 60 RBIs, and posted a .273 batting average. All-star season for sure. James McCann, now, I think, again, he's a good catcher. He didn't start in Chicago, at least in last season, a couple seasons, because of Yasmani Grandal is a good catcher too. But I think it was a good move for him to leave Chicago and play for New York. Like I said, I think it's a great move for the Mets. They needed someone behind the plate. I mean, Wilson Ramos, he's played for every team in the league. I'm a Rays fan. I remember him on the Rays, not good. So I think it's an upgrade at the catching position for sure. They released their other 3 catchers, so it's really just James McCann now that's running the show behind the plate. And like I said, they open up the cap space. Now, if they can land Springer and Bauer, this is a team that I think is certainly going to be in the playoffs. I still don't think they'll be their best team in their division. I think the Braves are still better, even if all this works out. But, I mean, what does it mean for the Mets? It puts the Mets back on the map, in my opinion. Like I said, they haven't been relevant since maybe 2014, 2015, when they were making those pushes to the World Series. And then they fell off completely. In this Mets lineup, like I said, you got Pete Alonso already, home run derby champ, polar bear, he's awesome. Jeff McNeil, who had a rough season last year, but fastest guy to 200 hits in who knows how long. And then, of course, Michael Conforto, one of my favorite lefties in the league. You add Springer, you add James McCann, you add Trevor Bauer, that pitching staff. I think this Mets team could be really, really scary out of the NL. Give the Dodgers a run for that dynasty they're trying to start. Give the Braves a run for the division. I mean, the Mets opens up a whole new world of possibilities for them, to be honest. And I'm kind of glad to see them kind of getting themselves back on the map, just because they've been so irrelevant for the last couple of years. And then, of course, like I said, picking up the slack with Cano. Cano's getting old, but he's still Robinson Cano. Fun guy to watch. So without him, they needed to fill that gap in. And obviously, McCann's not a second baseman, but having another guy in the lineup that can hit, I think McCann is a good middle of the order, bottom half of the order guy, 6, 7, 8 hole hitter. I mean, his career average is 260 something. The guy's solid. He hits, like I said, 18 home runs last year or 2 years ago in his All-Star season. The guy's solid. That's the best way to put it. Like I said, I think he's arguably a top 10. So I mean, that's better than solid. That's good. He's a good catcher. And then the biggest thing for me that was great with this Mets signing is being able to get a solid catcher, but not spending JT Realmuto money. They got James McCann, who I think is just a cheaper version of JT, and that left the cap space open potentially for signing guys like George Springer and Trevor Bauer, both free agents that I think the Mets can pick up and make themselves way better. Comment below what you think this signing of James McCann means for the Mets. Thanks for watching 2 in 1.